So what's up, y'all? It's another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. I think this is episode 4. And if you guys have been watching, then you know that me and my partner Joshua Jones, or not partner, but my guest. I guess I'm just used to you being on this show now. So my guest Joshua Jones, we have talked so much in the last episode that we need a whole nother episode just to cover the rest of our topics. So Jones, say what's up to everybody.
What's up? Hello.
So
Everything's going good.
We don't need no grand introduction. Like I said, this is literally the continuation to the last episode. And because me and Jones talk a lot, we just decided to pick up where we left off. And we have like about 2 more topics to do. We're going to talk about HBO Max and DC's 10-year plan for the DCU. And then the second one is like it's an overall conversation about masterpieces, but we have multiple things we're going to talk about within masterpieces. So let's just get straight into it. Let's not take too long. Jones, how do you feel about everything going on with HBO, like the whole HBO Max thing, the Warner, first, let's talk about how they're canceling everything. Like, how do you feel Discovery is moving with this whole HBO thing?
Okay. So I'll just put this out there first. People should not panic that they're canceling things, because in reality, I think what they're doing is really good and is the right moves to do. Because these are what they're doing is not just business moves, they're smart moves. Because people nowadays, they're like, oh my gosh, they're canceling everything. Everything is being canceled. But this is good because I remember since Marvel has been doing their thing and had their plan, DC's been putting out stuff, and only a few of it actually makes money or does good. And those things are and they're not even great quality. They're just okay. Some people argue oh, Wonder Woman, but no one's going to say Wonder Woman was better than Endgame or Infinity War. It wasn't no big blockbuster like that. You have Justice League came out, it was awful, and then they had to redo it on HBO or HBO Max. Then there was there's all these other movies, and they were just putting out things. They put out Suicide Squad, which was a good movie, but it didn't make no money because they didn't believe in it. So it's they would just put out things to put out things. Now, and fans were saying that. They were like, man, DC's not that good. They're just putting out random things. Now, DC, what's his name? Zaslav is over it. He's now putting out actual, he's like, okay, we don't believe in this project. We're not putting it out. So the things he's canceling are things that needed to be canceled. If you look, some of the things he canceled is Batgirl. The things that came out about Batgirl was that it was not a good movie. I read some of the things that said it looked cheap looking. It just wasn't that good of a movie. And he wasn't confident that it would make it wouldn't make people want to watch their stuff more. So he canceled it. Another thing canceled is the Wonder Twins movie. Now, Wonder Twins, for people who don't really know, I used to watch the old Super Friends. Yeah,
I always see parodies of it, but I never knew the real thing about it.
What they were, because I used to watch this old show, Super Friends, and they were in Super Friends. They're 2 alien siblings, and they have rings, and one can turn into forms of animals, and that's the sister. And then the brother can turn to forms of water. So he legit in the show turns into a bucket of water. Because
that sounds horrible.
It'd be because they have to put their rings together, and he would be form of a bucket of water. And then he'd turn to the bucket, and his sister pick him up and throw him on fire or something.
I can see why they canceled that shit. That sounds stupid.
Yes, it's like because the DC before was just approving things, but what people don't see is that they are moving things up that they do believe in. Like there's a Blue Beetle movie that is being made. It was going to just be on HBO Max, but they thought, man, this Blue Beetle movie is getting so good. Let's actually put it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're not just making like people think that they're just canceling everything. Another thing they're canceling is the Flash and a bunch of CW shows.
But wait,
But
Jones, you did see the other stuff about HBO Max, right?
oh, about like how they because they're like can't or changing it because like
Yeah, they
H
they like they got rid of like apparently they made like 6 movies or something and they took that off of the service. And it seems like not only are they changing like everything with DC, but it seems like they're also like rebranding HBO Max. Like they're gonna merge HBO Max and Discovery together.
oh yeah. Well, I know about that one because that's going to also save them like I think like $7 billion
Hmm.
because they have two different streaming things and they're all just combining it into one. Because one of the problems with HBO that they're trying to solve is there were like three different HBO things and no one can tell the difference because there's the HBO channel on TV and then there's HBO Max and there used to be like HBO Go and other HBOs. And
And
it's
then when
like,
you add Discovery into it, now it's almost like
yeah,
there's 4 things people don't know about.
and they all showed similar things. Like they're like no one could really tell. Like even people who are big into like the media and stuff, like TV and movies and stuff, they didn't even
Mhm.
know the big difference. So it was like it was very redundant. So they're just combining it all. And the shows and movies that they are canceling, they're things no one watched. Like that's the thing. Every move he's making right now, it's kind of like when you take over something, it's kind of like when you buy a house or
Mhm.
buy like a used house or something. You're not going to keep in what the former owners had. You're going to clean it all out to make it your own. And
Yeah.
anything you think is not effective or you think is redundant, you're getting that out of
And overall, okay, I will agree with you on this with the HBO Max thing. He is canceling a lot of things that nobody watches, though one of the things that nobody watches I kind of liked.
it.
Is
Oh my God.
no, because Josh, now I hate reality shows. I don't like them. But there's this one reality game show or whatever you want to call it. It's like this dating show. It's called Your Mom, My Dad.
Oh
And it
my
has
gosh.
and it's like kids trying to set up their single parent with other single parents. And like I got so invested in it. And I'm like, it's funny enough, before all this happened, I was like, man, I hope they make a season 2 just for him to start canceling everything. And they never said nothing about that show. But I'm like, dang, if this was a low-key show on HBO Max, this is about to be canceled in point
Tevin,
five.
that needs to go.
No, but I loved it. Jones, you need to watch it. Everybody else needs to watch it too. That show is funny. It's amazing. It's great. But I
But
get where they're coming from because it's like I have heard that they were losing a lot of money with HBO Max, partly also because they were releasing movies in theaters at the same time as the service. But it's kind of surprising that they're losing a lot of money with that because I've heard a lot of people say that HBO Max is their favorite service over
we'll see.
Netflix and other stuff.
Well, see, the thing is, the reason they're losing a lot of money is because the way HBO Max gets its money, it's by not by the amount of times you watch a show, but
The
what
ad
show,
revenue.
or no, not even that. What shows uh bring in people to want the service? Because
Mhm.
like they can see that like, okay, say they just added the show like Showtime or Winning Time. It's like the Magic Johnson show.
Mhm.
So say a bunch of you see because they can see when someone's a first time viewer. So say they've seen all these first time viewers going like that's the first show they watch when they have gotten the service. So they know, okay, that show's a draw. Then they're looking, there's some shows no one's watching. and they're still paying for those shows to keep them on and put them on and all that.
Mhm.
That's why they're losing money, because it's like they have so many things on their service and people aren't watching those. They're going in for like Game of Thrones or going in for like the DC stuff, but
I'm
they're
not
not
gonna
watching.
lie. Every time I go into HBO Max, I really only watch what's really just on HBO. Besides Dear Mom, My Dad, guys, stream that show. I don't want it to end. But yeah, I do find myself going towards like just the HBO stuff or like, Cartoon Network shows or stuff like that. Stuff that's
Yeah,
already established
you're not
outside of it.
going you're not going for like the custom made things that they're just putting on HBO
Yeah.
Max. And that's why it was like, the thing that's crazy to me is people would be like, oh, they're canceling all these things, but they're canceling things people aren't watching as much anymore. And they're
Mhm.
also, people are like, these are bad business moves. They canceled Bad Girl. But then I think, you say this, but why does Discovery have HBO in the first place? Or have Warner Brothers? They were in debt. They had to sell it. And why were
Mhm.
they in debt? Because of all these moves. Like, their DC stuff was drowning.
And how do you feel about the overall plan for them now? How they're gonna copy like
Well,
Marvel's
see,
plan?
I don't think they're because see, my thing is, I don't think it's a copy, because I think you can do it differently. I just, because I said from the beginning, because like I said, I was there when Marvel first started their plan,
Hmm.
because I was invested. Because I've been like 5, I've been invested in like comics and uh the stuff. And the whole thing is, when they first started, I was like, DC should also have a plan. They shouldn't just release things. But DC can do it differently. They just need a plan of how they want to, like, they need coherence.
Hmm.
And so I think it's good that they're canceling the stuff that doesn't match their plan, and they're planning out so things can be coherent. I'm not saying they need a shared cinematic universe, but I'm saying they need something where it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
it can hype up. Because the thing about Marvel, because even though I know we're not talking about Marvel, but the secret to Marvel's 10-year plan isn't that it's a shared cinematic universe. It's that they have a plan of how they're going to release movies so one movie can hype up the next movie.
Basically the structure of how they do it. Because I feel
Yeah,
I feel like DC hasn't really had much of a structure. It's like, let's put this out. Oh, this wasn't successful. All right, then let's try to reimagine it or do something else
yeah.
that will, yeah.
Because think about it like this. Like I'm trying to think of one of the DC movies before. So like Aquaman. I went and watched Aquaman.
Hmm.
And then I think after was Shazam. The Aquaman movie did not make me hype to watch the Shazam movie. But then you look at something like we were talking about Captain Marvel. Captain
Hmm.
Marvel came out right before Endgame. You watch Captain Marvel, and then at the end they hint. So you're excited for Endgame a few months later. Or or just like, you look at the shows like WandaVision came out, and then it got us excited for Multiverse of Madness way down the line. It's like
Hmm.
those movies, and they started doing that at the end, but I think having a plan will do it more. Like, because even though they're not connected, when Joker came out, it did get people excited for the next few months when the Batman would come out, because
Yeah.
they started getting hits. But now they got to capitalize on it. So they're being more smart with how having a plan will set it up so each movie hypes up the next one and retains fans, because that's the main problem. They're not retaining fans. Because if you really look, like I didn't watch Joker because that like I wasn't as into that,
Hmm.
but I watched the Batman. But if they have like a coherent plan that they're adhering to, like, say they're like, okay, we're doing these world stories, but we're going to combine it into the universe as like this is part of the multiverse thing. And they're kind of like making it so here's our movie plan, here's some coherency to follow. Then I'm going to be like, okay, let me stick with these movies a little bit more. And I really like that they're trying to find like an overall producer like Kevin Feige. Like they're not going to do the same thing, but they're trying to find an overall thing where a guy can plan out the universe, be like, okay, this movie will come out and this movie's going to connect to this movie and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be the same tone, but it doesn't have to be like a darker tone. But
And
DC is different.
And see, the one thing that I did kind of like that DC was doing was that like they have their shared universe, but then also you have these stories that you could tell outside of it. Cause I kind of wish
Yeah.
that's what Marvel would do. Like, not like, cause I remember one of the criticism that I heard about Marvel was that basically, oh, everything has to fit within the timeline and stuff like that. Something is always setting up for others, and how directors can't do what they want to do. They always got to have the big battle or something like that at the end.
Yeah.
It would be nice to give some directors like more free reign with these Marvel characters. Just find a way to establish that this isn't the main timeline that we're supposed to follow.
Yeah, and I feel like because I will admit, so far before like the Batman came and stuff, I didn't watch really many DC movies just because I hated them. I hated how it was because you could tell they're like I hate when things are like have you ever seen where someone doesn't want to copy something, so they purposely try and make the opposite, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not like something coherent. It's just trying to be the opposite, so it's not known as being like this thing.
Pretty much Saints Row and GTA, yeah.
Yes, and that's why I haven't liked the DC universe so far, just because they didn't do a plan specifically because they didn't want to be Marvel and make it seem like, oh, we're doing a plan like Marvel. And how they try making the universe like super dark and gritty and different, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not like Marvel. But initially, they have different heroes and they work differently, so it's going to turn out different. I That's why like the Batman got me so hyped for what can come next, just because that was a superhero movie but different.
Yeah.
But it wasn't trying to be different, it was just trying to tell a story, and like that's what I like. And I feel like that's going to happen even more once, now that they have a plan. Because I don't know if you've watched it, but like I'm not saying they do it just like it, but they used to have like an animated universe, like with the Batman animated series,
Oh,
the Superman animated series,
those old movies or whatever.
or it was shows, because they would have that Batman animated series, Superman animated series, then they had Justice League, the animated series, and then Justice League Unlimited, and then they had
I
Batman Beyond.
I never really liked the DC cartoons besides Teen Titans. So I know what you're
Oh,
talking about though, because I did notice they had like very similar art styles between all of
yeah.
them.
Well, they were really good in how they told stories, because it was like it didn't care how like what age you were. It worked really well and connected everything. And I was like, this is how you do it without having to be dark. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
different from Marvel shows and Marvel stuff. Because I'm a big DC fan, so I like DC more. Just because I think if they actually stop trying to be afraid of copying Marvel and just did like try to tell their own stories, I think it would be
Mm-hmm.
way better than Marvel. Even though I know right now that's a hard thing to imagine. But I know you say you didn't like these animated shows, but they were really good. Like those are some things to watch on HBO Max.
Actually, I do want to ask you because one of the things from DC I did enjoy was the Injustice video games. And I heard that they made an animated movie out of it,
Oh,
but
that
I
was
didn't
not
hear.
good. That was not
Yeah,
good.
I heard a lot of bad things about. I was gonna ask your opinion, but you already said it. So
Hey, if y'all want to watch any good DC content, go on HBO Max and watch the Justice League animated series. That is, that Justice League Unlimited, those are some good shows. Though
Sure.
it's funny, they be killing people.
When I tried watching them, I was younger, so I don't know. Maybe if I try again now, I probably might grow an appreciation for it. But
They're
yeah,
real good. It was funny. They be killing people on that show. And
it's funny because they killing people.
yeah, because in that show, you don't realize they're killing people until you really think about it. Like, because like there's one episode where these people, these like aliens, like they're like this alien race, they're like people but with bird wings, right?
Mm.
And they are invading Earth. And so Superman and the Justice League are just going through, and these people are flying in the ships. They're just busting through the ships and they're exploding. And you don't see no bodies coming out of it. So it's like, there are people in those
So it's like that old
ships.
cartoon stuff where like you'll see them get hit with something that will most likely make them die, but they don't make it obvious.
Yeah, but they're dead. Like they're confirmed dead.
Oh, okay.
Like in other episodes, they're like they killed Arthurian people. Like they commit like it's a war. They commit genocide. They kill people.
Oh well, if they that heartless, I might have to check this out.
Yeah,
sounds like my type of show.
There's literally a unlimited episode where they do Suicide Squad. They just don't call them Suicide Squad since it's a kid show.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, because the Suicide Squad, they're known for having bombs in their head.
Mm.
And they infiltrate the Justice League headquarters and they're escaping. And the Justice League are right after them close. And to escape and get out of there, the leader pushes one of his teammates, who's a girl. He pushes her in front and then presses the button and blows her head up. But you don't see it. It like the camera moves away, like it kind of fades away, and you just hear the noise.
Yo, that's dark.
Hey, I know, but that's how it was. They would kill people, and you would.
Yo, hold on. You're gonna have to send me the episode of that because that sounds crazy. Wait. I never knew they had bombs in the back of their head. Is that why they're called the Suicide Squad?
Yes, because the whole thing is they go in and do missions that most likely will result in their death, but they get time off their sentence for doing it. And the whole thing is if they try and run away while they're free, or they try and kill their handlers or do any villainy, they have bombs in their neck. So then it clicks and they blow up.
Oh, now see, if I knew that about the Suicide Squad, I actually would have been more interested in them because that sounds cool.
Hey, the newest Suicide Squad, that was the sad thing. And that's why I'm like glad about the 10-year
plan. Wait, don't spoil nothing.
No, I'm not spoiling. I'm just saying the newest Suicide Squad movie was really good. Like it was really good. But
now, wait.
No one watched it.
Do you think I would like it? Because I have heard reviews for it and they said that because didn't James Gunn do that movie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people has compared it to Guardians of the Galaxy. So do you think I would actually like it?
Yes, because that's why I'm saying this and the Batman show, like that Suicide Squad movie and the Batman show, why I think if they adhered to a plan and did more of what DC really is instead of trying to force darkness on it and force it to be something it's not, I feel like people would like DC more than Marvel. Just because James Gunn did this Suicide Squad and it does kind of feel like it, but I feel like it does better than the Guardians because the urgency is up. Like I feel like it has more your type of humor than Guardians of the Galaxy did.
Mm-hmm.
But it also like it has that dark type of humor. But the other thing is they like in DC, because how DC is, they don't be caring about characters the same way that Marvel do. So when I say anyone could die in that movie, anyone can die in that movie.
So yeah, this sounds like my type of thing because that's how power is. Like anybody can really die off at any point.
Yeah, like when I watched that movie, I was super surprised. I was like, darn, So they don't care. They kill anybody.
Damn. I hope my boy Idris Elba didn't die.
I'm just saying they kill anybody in that.
Oh damn. Yo, pray
But
for my boy Idris.
but the funny thing is, it's like a funny, like it's lighthearted, but also not lighthearted. And it's the same, like that's the same. That's why I think DC could be so special. And I know I keep bringing up the Batman, but the Batman is one of the like interesting movies to me because that movie was dark, but also so hopeful. And that's the thing I love about DC. It's like you're watching it, and this thing seems so like dark or so sad, but at the same time, lighthearted or good. But it's different from Marvel because Marvel never will like truly like you don't feel the risk. Like those movies feel realistic, but then also not. Like you would get something like Infinity War and Endgame, where everybody they lose at first, but you know in the end they're gonna win. But in DC stuff, it's like the wins never feel fully like a win. Like the Batman's a perfect example. And that's why I love that movie so much. It was like the main thing draw about DC is even when you win or the hero wins, was it really a win? Because that's what I always think about. Like the Riddler got most of his things.
You win, but you lose a part of yourself.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about Batman. Because think about it. In that Batman movie, Riddler killed everybody he wanted to. The only thing he did succeed in was flooding, or no, he flooded the city. The only thing he did succeed in was killing the mayor.
Yeah. He basically collected all those bodies. Hey, but they had to make sure that the black one survived. Wait, he didn't kill no other black people in this movie, right?
No.
Yep. So they had to make sure the black one stayed alive.
But they did get a shot off at her.
Oh yeah. But they grazed her a little bit. That was just I'm good.
But I'm just saying that's where it's the draw where I think because the main thing that was holding DC back is sometimes they would have a win, but then they have a couple losses and then have another win. But now, I feel like they're now going to have quality control where they're like, we're not letting this thing go or we're letting this thing come out till we have assurance that this is going to be at least okay. Like it might not be the best thing in the world, but we're not going to let something go out there that's going to be bad. Because that's what they did before. Like they would rush Justice League. That came out bad. Batman vs. Superman came out bad. Many people didn't like Man of Steel. It was like, now they're having quality. Like they're like, yeah, we don't believe Batgirl's going to do good. So why would we release it?
See, with this whole thing, I'm glad that they're going in with more structure because like I'm not much of a DC fan as much as people tell me, oh, check out the movies. I'm not really much of a fan of them, but I want to get into them because I'm like, if I can give Marvel a chance, I want to give DC a chance. But when I see so much mediocreness out of the movies, I'm like, should I even really give it a chance? So yeah, basically what I'm saying is I like that they're going in with structure now, and it seems like what you said, they're gonna focus more on the quality of it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the main thing. Like I said, you should start on those Justice League shows. That give you what you should be expecting from DC. So, but
Right. Oh wait, I was just gonna tell you, we only got 9 minutes left in this session, so let's wrap this one up, and then we can start talking about the masterpieces.
Okay, but I'll just say that like, and I know people are getting on like certain shows because DC had a whole like TV show universe going on.
Oh, that CW stuff.
Yeah, but that was going on a little too long. Some of those needed to end. Like, here's the craziest fact that I found out: the Flash movie was announced at the same time that the Flash TV show was just starting. The Flash TV show has been on for 9 seasons.
9 seasons.
Yes.
It's been
This
on
is
that
its
long?
yes, this is its ninth season. And the Flash movie and the show is now was canceled, so now it's ending on its ninth season.
Mhm.
So the Flash TV show began and end before the Flash movie ever came out, but they were announced at the same time.
So if it when did the show start?
The show, let me see real quick.
Though I will say, as far as that Flash movie, I've been hearing a lot of crazy things about Ezra Miller.
Yeah,
That shit
so
sound crazy. Well, shoot, we only got 7 minutes left. We can start the next topic when we start the next session. But I wanted to ask you real quick, as far as this Ezra Miller situation, how you feel about that? Seeing how you're like a DC fan, like because it seems like they're debating on what they want to do with the movie
yeah.
since they keep getting into a lot of situations.
So, well, first let me just tell you, the Flash TV show came out October 7th, 2014.
Oh damn! So they've been playing this movie for almost a decade.
Yes.
Okay,
The movie was supposed to have came out this year.
but
The movie
we all
yeah.
know why. Because
Well,
Ezra Miller is a fucking menace.
well, see, here's my thing about him. Because here's the problem that they have. The movie's done, right?
Mm-hmm.
They made the movie. They've just been like editing, reshooting, stuff like that. But the movie's done. So they already spent like $200 million on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't spend more money and replace him because he plays multiple characters in the movie. He's like in every like I've heard that he's in every scene of the movie.
Yeah.
So they can't do anything with that. So they have three options that I've seen. The first option is that they cancel it, like they just shut down the whole project.
Which would be a disaster for them.
Yes. The second option that I've seen is that they had that
The
Ezra
interview
Miller,
with him.
yeah, that he's with his mom. So they
Mm-hmm.
have her and him interview together, and he apologizes and says he was wrong and all his stuff. It
That's
talks
not gonna
about it,
that's not gonna work.
and they go on with the movie. The third option is that they do the movie. They go on with. They don't do a premiere. They don't do any like stuff, but they just show the movie. But then they sue him
Mm-hmm.
because recently they came out where I think it was Kevin Spacey. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the show House of Cards sued Kevin Spacey and was awarded where he has to pay them because of his controversies that came up. They say that ruined the last season of their show. So he has to pay them for that. So now people are thinking that that could probably happen if Ezra Miller doesn't uh, apologize and fix this or anything. That once the movie comes out, they sue him saying, or sue them saying that our movie would have made a lot more money if Ezra Miller didn't do all this stuff.
See,
So we want this money back.
knowing that studios always try to get their money back with their films, that's probably the best option because if they just straight up cancel the film, that's like a whole film that you put so much money and budget into, and it's gonna go
Yeah.
nowhere. And that interview, I don't think that's going to work because I mean, partly with this generation we live in. I mean, okay. First, I do want to say the things I heard that they did, that
Yeah.
sounds fucking horrible. But like if you try to make them apologize and then you drop the movie with this generation we live in, no apology is going to make it work. But it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you release it, then some people may try to say that you're like, what's the word? That you're not sensitive to like
Mhm.
what's going on as a company. But then some people will still watch it just because, look, we can support this, but it's like we're not supporting them. But I
But
don't know.
I have a question for you because you could have the opposite reaction. Do you think this would create, like how they say sometimes, any publicity is good publicity? So, like, do you think that if he did this interview, because people are starving for information, so
Mhm.
if he did this interview and stuff and talking about it, you don't think that would make like good or any publicity for the movie? And then people be like, you know what? This controversial figure is in it. I kind of want to see what if the movie was that good that they want to keep it. Like, was it worth it?
I
Like,
feel
you don't
like
think it's going to draw more people in?
I think me and you talked about this one time. Like, good publicity isn't always. I mean, what's the sentence? The controversy doesn't always make good publicity, and maybe in this case, because there is going to be some people that's going to be more attracted even when they
Yeah,
speak out. But I feel like more people is going to be on the side of we don't want to see this movie.
I think it also depends because the movie comes out like in the beginning of next year,
Hmm.
and their thing was canceling is their last resort, but they're only going to cancel if he does like three or four more, had three or more, four or more incidents.
Yeah.
So now they're just betting on how many incidents will he have before the movie comes out.
I really feel like this whole situation depends. But as far as like if they cancel it, that's probably the only outcome where I can see more people wanting to see the movie than not. Because it's like if you cancel a big budget film and tell people they're not going to be able to watch it, it's almost like one of those lost media things that people will go clamoring for. Because I've seen a
That's
lot,
what kind of blows my mind about the Batgirls movie
like
because
now
it's
that they wait, did they already film all of it?
uh yeah, they were almost done.
So people are going to clamor for that since like it's somewhat like lost media now.
Yeah, even though I know if it was bad, they would bash DC for it. But if it
Yeah.
but now they're like they canceled it. They didn't even give it a chance. But people didn't realize that wasn't even going to go in theaters.
Hmm.
And I think that's the people are comparing the Batgirl movie to the Flash movie. They're like, if they cancel the Batgirl movie, why don't they cancel the Flash movie? But people don't realize that that's 90 million for the Batgirl movie. And they weren't going to make any of that money back because
Hmm.
it wasn't, you don't make that money back if you just put it on HBO Max. They weren't going to put it in theaters.
That was less of a risk for them.
Yeah, and now they can just write it off as taxes. So they don't lose any money.
Hmm.
They can't write off that $200 million movie that they were going to make money off. Like, no matter what, if they don't cancel it, no matter what, they're putting it in theaters. They're making something off of
That reminded me of that one Denzel Washington video where he's like, I'm leaving here with something.
it.
I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something. Look, we're making some of our money back. They might be canceled, but we making our money back.
Yeah,
That's them.
that's what they're saying. They'll they over here thinking they're like, if we don't, no matter what, we suing them. We getting that money.
That's why I can really see them probably suing them for money because it's like you put it out, then at least we can try to make some money from people that still want to see it, and then try to maybe make the rest off of suing him or
So
suing
you
them.
want to
You
know
know.
the funniest, like messed up thing?
Hmm.
That say the movie, like say Ezra Miller doesn't apologize, but people are so interested that they go and the movie's a big and it's really good. The movie's really good and it's a big success and it makes a lot of money. They can still sue him because they say it would have made even more if he didn't do that. Like no matter what this movie makes, they can sue him and say it would have made more.
Well, you know what? They're lucky that I don't run the company because I would have been petty and did that anyway. Dang, we made our budget back and times 10. All right, let's sue them.
Hey, that's what they're going to do. They'd be like, we would have made times 100 if he didn't do anything.
Yeah. I would
That's
have
why.
personally me, I would have did that if I was commander in chief, but hey. Shoot,
But
you might have jeopardized our movie. I want my coin.
yeah, but that's why I think that uh I think his name's what's his name? David Zaslav.
The guy that runs Discovery.
Yeah,
I think so. I do think it's something like Zaslav or something like that.
yeah. I think he's like I know a lot of people are worried right now because things are got canceled and everything, but I think he's doing smart business moves because it's like if this company was losing a lot of money that they had to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So how do so and since they sold to him, he takes on like his company takes on that debt. So they gotta get out of debt somehow.
And besides, I did see a lot of people freaking out about like, the whole overall like HBO and Warner and all that. Like, really, we're never like these are just words right now. We're not really going to see whether this was for the better or for worse
Yeah.
until years down the line. So I'm just going to reserve like all my worries, which really I don't have any anyway. Like hearing that they're going into DC more structured, hearing that they're mixing HBO with Discovery. Hey, that's one less service for us to pay for. So I mean, hey, I see more
Yeah.
good out of this than bad, but we'll never really know until these things start to get into effect.
Yeah, kind of off topic, but it's kind of crazy thinking like how like 5, 10 years ago, everything was on Netflix. And now it's like all these streaming services, everything's everywhere
Oh
else
my
now.
God. Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Hulu, HBO Max, BT
Pe-
Plus. I was done when I heard
Peacock.
BT Plus, Peacock. Like, come on. And I paid for almost every single one of them.
Oh
And
my.
I can tell you with the most confidence, I feel like Paramount Plus is the best, at least for me.
Really? I think HBO Max is the best. It has
See,
a wide assortment of movies, good shows. You can watch old Cartoon Network stuff.
HBO Max, actually, yeah, it might be tied with Paramount Plus because I noticed that a lot of the things that I personally like are a lot of like Viacom owned stuff.
See, I feel like the sad thing is, I feel like Netflix is start. I'm trying to hold on to it, but it's start. So many of the shows that I like have gotten taken off. That is very like it's very thin. Like
Bro, Netflix is falling off, man.
I don't know
And
what
they
else.
always cancel their good shows like Insatiable. I really loved that show, and then it got canceled.
Well, see, the thing about about Netflix is, like I said, they don't make their money off of like most streaming service. They don't make their money off of how many people watch something. They make it off of what shows attract in new people.
Mhm.
So most of the time, they make up one season or something, and then they're like, well, we don't really need to keep this show going because it got everybody you could get.
No, speaking of Netflix, they're taking a big gamble with this Avatar show. I was reserved. Well, you know this, but I was
Yeah.
reserved at first about Netflix because they canceled shows like The Get Down. Because at one point, The Get Down was the show that they were putting the most money into, but they were saying that they didn't want to continue the show because they were putting so much of their budget into it. Now with Avatar, I'm hearing that they're so invested with this Avatar show and they have so much what's the word? Like they know they're going to do a good job with it. Like they're putting in like Game of Thrones type money. That's what I heard. They're going for like a Game of Thrones type of budget with that show.
Oh, see, there I have so many. I guess this could be like a new mini topic because I have so
Yeah.
many worries about and
I'm worried I'm
questions
worried
about the
about
Avatar.
I'm worried about a lot of the things that I heard. Like the original creators stepped down from it, and then I'm hearing that they're aging the characters up so there can be like more romance and whatever in
Okay,
it.
okay. See that. Well, I don't even have you looked at the cast? I don't know if they're aging them up that much.
No, they didn't age them up that much, but it's like hearing that they're gonna focus more on romance. That
To be
kind of
honest,
concerns me because I like Avatar had romance, but it wasn't like the main focus of it.
yeah, I don't know. See, I have some concerns about that because I was watching this one thing and was talking about that show, and then it showed the actor playing Aang, and it
Mhm.
showed the actress playing guitar. It made me really think it's like that's a 12-year-old boy and she looks like 14. That's go that type of romance ain't going to really work in real life.
I mean, that's only okay.
Think about it. Boys don't reach puberty till like 15. So this is going to look like a little kid. Like in the show,
Yeah,
Aang was around the same height as Qatar. He looks like a teenager, even though he's 12.
you know the
You're
other
getting
thing
an
they
act.
didn't. You know the other thing they don't have to worry about with the cartoon. This
But
kid's voice could be changing mid-series.
I know he's going to be like, but Qatar.
Hi, Katara. But Katara, I love you. No, why did that
He gonna
remind
have
me of?
voice cracks a
Why
mess.
did that remind me of? Remember when I used to make fun of Drake and Josh, and I was like, Josh's girlfriend's voice was too deep. I love you, Josh. Like
Don't do her like that.
look,
Don't
she
do
was
her like
fine as hell, but her voice was a little too deep for my
that.
my taste.
Don't do her like that. She was
But
my favorite one on that show.
she was
Yes.
Josh out of everybody on that cast, and she
Well,
was your favorite.
well, her and Josh were my favorite. Josh because we had the same name, so I had to have solidarity.
You
You
know how
know,
fun. How funny is it that you're Josh, but you hate Drake? I find that funny. But Megan got to be in your top three, right?
no, Crazy Steve was kind of
Oh wow, crazy Steve.
he was. Have you heard that theory?
Oh yeah, how he kidnapped Megan and that became iCarly. That's a very far fetched theory.
I know, but that must would be too funny. It would
That
be
would
awful, but it would also be hilarious.
that would be. I'm not gonna lie, that would actually make a very interesting show. That would make an interesting show. A crazy guy kidnaps a evil scheming girl, and he raises her as his younger sister.
And she accepts it.
That would be crazy because she's evil. He's crazy, and I mean, if he kidnaps a little girl, then that implies that he's a little bit evil.
But you want to know what would be the funniest part about it?
What?
That means a crazy, insane guy would be a better brother than Drake.
Yeah.
Because he was taking care of her and making sure she was fed and all that. And he
Damn.
was caring and everything.
Well, Drake was never really that much of a good brother to
I
anybody, not
know.
even Josh.
Oh, that another side note. That was one of my favorite episodes when Josh just went, "I'm done," and then his life got so much better when he just
To
treated
stop
Drake
fucking
like,
with Drake.
yeah. And I was like,
I'm done.
that was always so funny to me because he just walked. He was like walking back and he was like, Josh, where are you going? It was like, I'm just done with you. It was like, and then he was like, Josh. and
I
then
love how
Drake would
simple
come in
that
and
was.
he's like, or I'm just thinking about like, what if you were randomly in that class when Drake's like, it's all because of you, Josh. I need you, okay? And he just leaves. I would be like, so
I'm gonna like, I need to be with he on because but no, I just love how simple Josh was about it. Like he didn't be petty, he didn't do
yeah.
none of that. He was just like, just done. Like
Yeah, he
come
was
on,
like, I
Josh,
don't hate you.
you're overreacting. No, I'm just done.
Yeah. But it made me feel real bad for Josh all of a sudden because it was like, you're telling me now all these girls like him, Helen's nice to him, He's moving up in his job. He gets to on time and everything. His life is so much better without Drake. I was over here thinking at like 9, 10. I was like, man, if I saw my life getting that much better, I don't know if I would go back.
But see, shows got to go back to the status quo at the end of the 30 minutes. Me, if I've seen my life was getting better, shit, I'm done with you for life. Shoot, Drake would fucking hate me as a brother because I would be like, dang, I'm getting girls, my boss likes me, and my life is overall good. Shoot. But oh yeah, before we get off track, let's get to the masterpieces.
Okay.
Now, there was something you said about masterpieces when we first when we first discussed the topic. What were you saying about that?
Let me see, because I know I texted it somewhere. Oh, okay. So my whole initial thought of this is, I guess I'll just explain it first, like what I mean by masterpiece. So through quick history lesson, everybody, fellas, if you hear me out for a second.
And ladies,
fellas, ladies, hear me out for a second. So I view a masterpiece as something that like pretty much stands the test of time. Like it's so good that it influences things, that it moves that industry forward. It's something that like becomes iconic. Like some of my biggest things are like Star Wars, or like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, like certain musics. I know like Tevin, me and you have talked about like certain albums, video games like The Last of Us or like Mass Effect, stuff like that.
And like, specifically, I know we have Grand Theft Auto in The Last of Us because I saw that in my notes.
Like just things like that are what I classify as masterpieces. And so my overall goal, my overall question that I had posed to Tevin was, is like when you enter industry like music, video games, movies, TV, is the goal a masterpiece? And if it is, then what do you do when you've reached that goal? Because I feel like we see sometimes people will just ride that, like Avatar's one of the perfect examples I brought up, because I've told people, and I don't know if this is popular or not, but I tell people that I think Avatar The Last Airbender was a fluke.
Was there peak?
Or it was a fluke. Like I don't think
I do remember you saying that.
I don't think they meant it to be that good. Like I think everything just came perfectly together and ended up being such a great show. And I don't think they thought it would get to that point. And I think they've hit that masterpiece point, because Avatar's timeless. I've watched that show so many times, and it's like it never grows old. But now we see the creators are just trying to ride those coattails. They've tried making more movies,
to the point where they made like a whole studio now, like Avatar Studios.
Yeah, and they're trying to make animated movies for it, and it's like, is the point of like getting in there to make a masterpiece, or what happens if you do make one? Like, what do you do? Because then you're kind of stuck. Like, I feel like it's a good thing, but also a bad thing, because it's like inadvertently, even if you don't want to, like even if you want to spread out and try and do other things, you will be known for that masterpiece of a thing that you've made, and people will always be expecting quality or expecting that out of you. Like, we talked about this yesterday with Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is a perfect example. Get Out happened, right? And now everybody's expecting the every movie to be Get Out. But it can never, like, realistically, it cannot reach that point again. Because people are expected that.
And one thing I did think about, and this kind of goes with movies and music too, because I heard somebody say this, but I forget who. It's like, probably even Jordan Peele probably experienced this too. You work your whole life on your very first project. Somebody said this about an album. You work on your first album since the day you're born. Pretty much, you have all those experiences, you have all of that to think about. Jordan Peele, Get Out was probably something he was thinking about for a very long time. Then, you make that thing, whether album or movie, it becomes a success. And when it becomes a success, now you only have a year or two to make that next thing, opposed to like the first thing that you made that became a masterpiece that you had your whole life to think about. Now it's like the studio or label or whoever, all right, we need a new thing in like 2 years, or we need a new thing in a year. But what if you need more time than that? Are you really ever going to reach that point of making another masterpiece if you don't have as much time?
And that's why I say Star Wars is the perfect analysis of this. Because George Lucas, when he got out of college, he had this dream to write, he started writing for The New Hope. And he had this dream that he wanted to make this movie. So he made another movie first to just so studios could give him money so he could finance for Star Wars. That was his first plan. And then he put all this work, all this time into making Star Wars and everything. Then when it finally came out, it was a hit. It was a success. All this money and stuff. So then people were expecting, so when's the next one coming? And he instantly, right after, he had to instantly start writing. It took 5 years, but he did it. But you look at that, like it took first from college all the way there to make the first one, then 5 years. Then it took 3 years to make the last one. Now you look at nowadays, if someone makes Get Out happened. They were expecting his next horror movie within 2 years. And it's like, I think the time frame nowadays has accelerated because of the internet, but even back then, it's always been expected for people to once you make a hit, we want another hit, but we don't want something different. We want more, because that's why George Lucas, because he was seen as amazing and a crazy good filmmaker and stuff, but he only, after Star Wars, he only was focusing on Star Wars because he was focusing on making sure he keeps the rights to Star Wars, making sure he keeps the merchandise of Star Wars. And then he was like, well, I guess I gotta make more Star Wars stuff. And then when Star Wars in the 90s, it was like, I guess I gotta make Star Wars more relevant because I have a plan for more Star Wars. So he does more Star Wars. So it's like, when you make that masterpiece, do you just ride it? Do you keep on it? Or do you try make a risk and do something different? Because it's like that also fails a lot.
See, that's tough, because it's almost like that saying, if it's not broke, then don't fix it, or anything like that. Like, some people will just try to keep recreating the same thing, but then some people will try to do something different. But then it's like, either way you do it, it could always backfire at some point. Kind of like what I talked to you about yesterday with rappers like Drake or Kendrick or Kanye. Like, Kanye, everybody knows that most of his albums has just basically went out of left field. Like, if you heard one Kanye album and then you heard the next, it's gonna sound very drastically different. But then sometimes you might have a good result, like an 808s and Heartbreaks, where it becomes like a good influential album for the next generation. or you get a dud like Yeezus, where people to this day is debating whether it's a good thing or not. But the thing is, he still tried doing something different, even though everybody knew him mostly for one thing. And then, um, like rappers like Drake, where I told you that it seems like he keeps trying to recreate what he did back in the day, but now it's just failing because we're so used to like him doing the same thing.
And see, that's where I think the contradiction comes, because it's like the thing with it is, because we even talked about it, where it's like you wish you, like a lot of people say, man, I wish old Drake would come back. But then when they're
Mhm.
like, then when he tries to do something he did in the beginning, they're like, this is the same. Where's the new stuff? But
Mhm.
we were just asking for old Drake.
Yeah. Well,
But I,
not personally me, because when I say, or you guys can leave in the comments how you feel about this. But when I say I want old Drake or old Kanye, when I ask for like an old version of somebody, I more mean like the ambition they had, the hunger, the type of quality they were making. Like not exactly for them to do the same exact thing, but it's like, like basically I want to feel that hunger that you used to have when you made those original masterpieces or when you did make your masterpiece.
though I have a question for you, Tevin.
Hmm.
Do you think that people can still, like, say when they have a hunger for something or like an ambition to do like a dream project and make that, right?
Hmm.
Do you think that they can keep that ambition and hunger when they get expectations?
When they get expectations from like outside people.
Like, say, like we use Drake as an example.
Hmm.
Drake was hungry at first. He was ambitious to do his thing, and no one really knew about Drake. But once he came out and made his masterpieces and stuff like that, then when people are expecting things, do you think that ambition goes away and it's replaced just because it's like everybody's expecting this, so I just gotta meet these expectations? Like, do you think you can still have that ambition and hunger to make something when instead you're trying to just meet those expectations first?
I would probably say no, because then you're putting everybody else's expectations over really what you want to do.
Yeah, like that's what I think the main
And
problem
so
is, though.
and sometimes, now personally this isn't me because I told you about this kind of makes me think about Kendrick's new album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. One of the reasons people didn't like it is because they said, oh, it took him 5 years to make this, and this is what we got. And it's kind of like what you said. People had expectations because of what his previous albums sound like. They wanted another damn part two. People might not admit it, but from when I hear people criticize Mr. Morale, you guys really wanted damn part two. But instead of getting those conscious songs that sound like bangers, you got an album where this guy somewhat is treating you like his therapist and he's telling you deep emotional things he never talked about before. And he
And
talked about
that's
things that makes people uncomfortable to talk about.
and that's my thing of like, w- like even though the goal is to make something that you really love and like you want to do justice to a brainchild or something that you actually love making, right?
Hmm.
But then what if it turns out really good and people are expecting more of that? Then you can't, it makes it so you have to choose between keeping those fans and living up to those expectations or continuing to do something you really want to do. Like, think about it. What if George Lucas did one Star Wars and then he was like, I want to do something else. I want to do like a horror or comedy or something. And he doesn't get back to Star Wars. He would lose so many fans just because they were all waiting for Star Wars.
Hmm.
So then it's like, and you have to stay successful in the bit, like to be successful in the business, you need fans. So it's
Damn.
like, what do you do? Do you do like that's why I'm like a masterpiece is kind of like a curse.
This is something that I definitely got to think about because I told Josh plenty of times since I want to be a film director. I told him two things. I want to try every single genre. I don't want to just, just stick to one genre my whole career. And I don't want to make sequels out of anything, no matter how successful he is. But that's the sad thing about it. You kind of like for people like me that wants to try different things, it's kind of tough because you want to keep, doing new things and trying to keep things fresh. But then, like what you said, a masterpiece can be, it can almost be like a curse because it's like, if you try something new and it winds up being bad, you might as well just have kissed all your fans goodbye. Because that's the one
And
thing. Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just going to say real quick, that's the one thing why I feel like it worked for Kanye and Kendrick up to a certain point. They basically did take everything they did left field, like one album sounds different from the next, but then the quality was still up to par to where people couldn't where people, if you get what I'm saying, like one album was different from the next, but that album that was so different from the last one still met the same level of quality to where it's like, okay, you gave us something different, but I can rock with it.
but see, then I feel like there are rare people where you can do multiple, but I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, because I
Like,
was I was thinking that because just like how you said, you have to, you want to keep your ambition, you want to keep your idea, but then you also want to meet expectations. Meeting that perfect balance is very hard to do.
look at Steven Spielberg. He was able to do it. Like,
Mhm.
make classics of multiple different movies, but each one of those movies has sequels, or a lot of the like
Were the sequels
known
done by
ones.
him?
Let me see, because he did Jaws.
I was very surprised when I found out he did Jaws because didn't he do
He did Jurassic Park.
I knew he did Jurassic Park and
He
then
did Indiana Jones.
he did?
Yes,
I
that's
thought that was a George Lucas thing.
no. That's one that those movies are special because that was a teamwork thing. They did that together.
Okay.
He directed and George Lucas wrote it.
Did he do E.T.?
Yeah, he did
Yeah,
E.T.
because I mostly known him for E.T. and the Jurassic movies. I yeah, I knew he did the Jurassic movies.
So he did Jaws. He did Indiana Jones. He did The Color Purple.
Huh? The Color Purple?
Yeah,
wait,
yeah,
wait. Whoopi Goldberg, Color Purple?
yes, yes. Oh, he did Hook. I love that movie.
Yo, Steven Spielberg might be the GOAT. Yeah, he did so many different type of movies.
Yeah, he did Jurassic Park. Yeah, he did the second Jurassic Park too. He did Saving Private Ryan.
He did?
Yeah.
Yo, I don't know. I might have been sleeping on Steven Spielberg. I might have. Are there
Well,
any other movies he did?
well, he's done more of those like Oscar worthy movies like Schindler's List, Minority Report.
I heard a lot of good things about Schindler's List. But see, that he still kind of fits into what I was saying, where it's like, he does drastically different movies besides the sequels. He does drastically different movies, but they all still are of quality,
Yeah, but see,
which is huh?
or I was going to say, here's my question now, because
Hmm.
then we get to 2011, right? And then these movies, I don't know if they're as good. Like, you remember The Adventures of Tintin?
I heard of it, but I didn't watch it.
And then he did this movie, War Horse, that I never seen.
I never watched that one.
He did Lincoln.
I don't support Abe Lincoln. Hey, if you're black, you shouldn't support Abe Lincoln. Selfish motherfucker. But yeah.
He did Bridge of Spies,
Didn't see that one.
the BFG.
The BFG. Oh, the big freaking giant. The big fucking giant. Yeah, I heard of that, but I ain't watch it.
The Post.
The Post.
Yeah, another Oscar movie
Okay.
where Ready Player One.
Okay, you know that one. I didn't
Yeah.
see that, but you know that one.
Well, see, that's the thing. All these movies since 2011, these are movies that I didn't really watch.
Mm.
And it's like that's why I'm like he was making iconic movies in a certain period. And then it's like you get recently and it's like it's not the same.
And
So it's like
he hasn't touched anything on the Jurassic World movies.
not since the second one. And the second one was what I think the one they called the best.
The Jurassic World movies, right?
Yeah.
Did he direct or just produce it?
I think he directed it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, because it's funny looking at it because it's like he does Jaws in 1975, then he does Raiders of the Lost Ark in 81, E.T. 82, in 84 he does Temple of Doom, in 85 he does The Color Purple.
I still can't get over him doing The Color Purple. Like,
then in 89 he does Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. Then in 1993 he does Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. Then
I
in
gotta look this up,
1997 he
man.
does another Jurassic Park. Then he does Saving Private Ryan, which has Tom Hanks in it.
I can't believe this. He really did Color Purple. Like,
oh my gosh.
No, because that's shocking. Because ain't that mostly considered a black movie?
Yeah, it's a black classic, which is so funny.
So that's why I'm so shocked. Because I'm like, a white guy directed a black classic. Wow. What? Wow.
Well, a lot of those do happen. Like black classic movies is like a white director or something.
Bruh, people nowadays be complaining about that. Like I remember when Malcolm and Marie first came out and they were talking about Sam Levinson basically voicing off his problems with like how it's hard to be a black director in Hollywood, but then we know he's a white guy directing this movie with black stars in it. So that's why I'm finding it so hard to grasp that this is a black classic, because people always complain about stuff like that, at least nowadays.
Yeah, and that's where it's like it's very interesting.
Or like there's another movie too where like a white guy directed it. Actually, it's the same guy that did Midsummer, Ari Aster. Remember that one movie I showed you, Strange Things About the Johnsons?
Oh, okay,
People,
but
okay,
that
okay, no, but here's the thing. People were saying, why is this white guy directing a movie about a black family? Like taking away all the weirdness in the movie, like people was having an issue with the fact that a white guy was directing, I guess, a movie of a black experience or something like that, which I hope you motherfuckers aren't having that type of black experience.
Though my thing is, like, how back on the topic of masterpieces, how would you feel if, say, because for him, like, just talking about Steven Spielberg, he had like a classics run till, like, I would say, would like, let me see, what would you consider? Would you consider War of the Worlds a classic? Like, I started
guess
watching it, but I've never seen. I didn't fully see it.
I don't know. I wouldn't count it as a classic as far as like, film and stuff like that. But like to common people in the streets, like, yeah, I would say that's a classic somewhat. Or actually, I would consider it a classic because when you talk about disaster movies, and didn't that movie have aliens in it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so when you talk about aliens and disaster movies, I do always hear people bring that one up.
So from 1975 to 2005, he was making classics.
What was the next movie after that?
The next movie was Munich in 2005 also, and then in 2008, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh yeah, okay. So War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds would probably be his last arguable classic. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know some people said like Lincoln was really good, and I know some people said West Side Story, but they're not very well known.
Yeah, they're like considered good, but just not classic.
Yeah. So I was going to show let's see the difference between the movies George Lucas did. Are we just counting ones he wrote and directed, or also ones he produced?
I want to count directing.
Okay. So his first classic was Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And then next he helped write, so he then did Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So those are 1980, 1981. Return of the Jedi in 1983. Then Temple of Doom in 1984. And then is Labyrinth no, Labyrinth is not a classic movie.
That's the one with like all the weird puppets and whatever, right?
Yeah, I think so. I've never seen it.
I would say that's
Oh,
more of a cult classic than an actual classic.
then he did that Howard the Duck movie. Oh wait, no, never mind. He produced Labyrinth and Howard the Duck. He
Oh,
wrote
okay.
Willow.
Willow. What's that one?
I don't know. I just know I think that's also a cult classic though. Uh, he wrote Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade in 1989.
He directed that one too.
No, he just wrote it. Steven Spielberg directed.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting.
And then the last ones he directed was Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3. Which even though people don't like, I still argue it's classics because it's always talked about. I don't know. It's like it's never going to be left behind in history.
I feel but I feel like they're kind of classics by association though, because it's part of the Star Wars brand, and that brand is classics, or it's known for its classic 3 movies.
Yeah, so it's a classic by association.
So would you say the new trilogy is a classic by association?
Yeah, it have to be.
that killed you to say that.
It really did. Oh my gosh, my heart died a little. But yeah, sadly, it is a classic by association because
people gonna love or hate this, but I actually like the majority of the new trilogy.
What? Oh well, 2 3, I guess.
Yeah, well, actually, the real controversial opinion of mine is now. Hey, who knows? My mind may change if I rewatch the movies, but The Force Awakens was my favorite out of all the Star Wars movies. I'm surprised you didn't say nothing to that.
Wait, you said, because I'm trying to process what you just said. Say it again.
The first one in the new trilogy, that's called Force Awakens, right? Or am I thinking of the video game?
Yes.
Yeah, I said that was my favorite out of the whole Star Wars series.
Wait,
I thought I told you this before, Jones.
I feel like I know you did, but it just don't make sense.
How?
Because my mind isn't computing it. Because that means episode 4 is your favorite.
What do you mean?
Because literally Force Awakens takes beat for beat pretty much of episode 4.
Oh yeah, the first Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my second favorite.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
No, the only reason, because I know everybody always says, oh, it's beat for beat remake, beat for beat remake. The only reason I even have that slightly over 4, and you could say this is a biased thing towards me, I just like the newer technology we have in film. It's really just because of the CGI, the newer technology. That's the only reason I have Force Awakens over the original.
Okay. I can see that because
But
That
see
makes
that,
sense.
but see, that's just a bias reason. I can acknowledge that overall, like 4 is a better movie. But since this movie copies it beat for beat, and the camera work, like all of that is more up
Oh
to
my
date, of course I'm
gosh.
gonna like that one better because that's more my time. So
But see, this is why I'm like, well, anyway, other than that,
I know a lot
because
of people will hate that I said that, but hey,
because I like The Last Jedi is one of the top ones, but I don't like the new trilogy as much just because I feel like they felt forced to it's the whole thing of being in the shadow of the masterpiece. Anything Star Wars related, they have to relate back to the original trilogy just because of how good they were.
which I
But
was.
it's like,
Oh wait, what were you about to say?
oh, I was going to say, but when they made the original trilogy, they made it based off other stories from other things. They used the mythology and things they learned. Like George Lucas learned all about different histories, the story of the hero's journey, all these different writing styles just to make Star Wars. But when they made the other Star Wars, like the new trilogy, they didn't look at any other type of media other than Star Wars media and just copied Star Wars media.
Yeah.
So it's like can't eating itself. And that's the thing that I don't like.
And see, right, it got me thinking about Rise of Skywalker. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the movie. I like it a little bit more than other people. But when you look at it like as a finale, like they advertised this thing as the finale of the Skywalker saga. That shit was very, very disappointing and also felt by the books. Like
Yeah.
it felt very by the books. We gotta have this big battle. We gotta have the voices of like all the old Jedis in it. Like it just felt it's weird. It should be working, but it just doesn't. The payoff
Well,
doesn't feel right to me.
yeah, because it didn't, it felt like they were just trying to please everyone. Like,
Exactly. That's the
and
thing.
that's why like I've gotten in arguments because I know people hate the prequels. But I said I kind of like the prequels, especially Revenge of the Sith. I really like Revenge of the Sith. But I
Mhm.
would say I think each one of the prequels is better than the original or the new trilogy, just because even though it has problems with the story, it felt like someone was trying to tell the story they wanted to tell. Like the
And
problem with
and wait, people were saying that the prequels were just trying to please people.
no, the new trilogy is trying to please people.
Oh, okay.
The but people didn't like the prequels because the prequels just they didn't like how it was different than the original trilogy.
Them shits were ass though.
See, I like some of them because remember when we watched one and two, one was boring in some things, but I will admit, one taught when I was going through government class,
Mhm.
one helped me a lot because that emulates what happens in governments so well that it taught me like everything about like how hostile takeovers happen, how like democracies can die and all that. Like it taught me a lot.
But see, that's stuff that you're interested in. When that shit
No,
came on, I was ready to sleep.
yeah, you're not interested in it, but that's the thing that I found interesting about the Star Wars movies, like the prequels and the original. You could like if you were a teacher, you could play that in a class and say it's like it actually will teach something.
Mhm.
It's not just a story. It's something like someone like that's why I think the prequels are better than the new trilogy because George Lucas was passionate about that and actually trying to teach something. And I watched the prequels as a kid, and I think if you're a kid and you watch, he did try and make the prequels more for children. If you watch it as a kid, you enjoy it a lot more. But remember, we had so much fun watching episode two. If
I
you
thought we
remember,
I thought we fell asleep during that
no, we
shit.
fell asleep during episode one. We were making so many jokes during episode two.
Oh yeah.
Because
Well,
the sand, we were
episode two,
laughing.
I was mostly roasting that. I personally like to call it Star Wars date movie. That's what I personally like to call it. Because besides Obi-Wan Kenobi, like the rest of the movie is just kind of some
Yeah.
bullshit.
But episode 3 is
Now,
actually
episode 3 is genuinely good. I'll argue with people about
yeah.
that one. I actually liked episode 3.
But even with all those, I felt like the idea, not just that was original, but you felt the passion behind it. But with episode like 7, 8, and 9, I didn't feel the passion. It felt more like they were
I
trying to
thought
lead the fans on.
I thought you liked The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I like The Last Jedi, but even then, I like that one of the 3 of them the most because it felt I could feel the passion a
Yeah,
little
I was
bit
about to
more.
say, oh wait, so you don't feel full passion, but you feel more passion than the
Like,
rest.
yeah, it's more like I feel like he was trying to make his own story, but also include that. But he was also trying to still hit beats because he was still trying to hit the beat of like, this is the episode 5 of this trilogy. Because he did similar things that were done in episode 5. He just tried to make them different. Like episode 5 had a cave scene where Luke meets his greatest fear, which his greatest fear is that he is Vader, or he is just like Vader. But in episode 8, in The Last Jedi, Rey has a cave scene where she meets her greatest fear, that she's all alone. And so it's like it hits similar beats where it's like, oh, there's a duel in a throne room and stuff, and Rey doesn't necessarily win, and she meets the big bed. They're like they lose in that one. Like it hit. They are on a snowy planet or a planet with white substance.
Don't say that. That sounds wrong.
I don't know else what to call it because
wasn't it white sand?
No, it was like salt.
That's weird.
But
yeah, The Last Jedi. I mean, I thought it was good. It just it was a decent movie. At least to me, it was decent. The only real gripe, I guess, the only thing I really had a huge problem with, but it's not just with that movie, but just how the whole trilogy played out. They, at least with The Force Awakens, they made it seem like Finn was also going to be like huge in the overall story.
And that's one thing I didn't like too much.
Like they really,
like they misled you.
They really dropped the ball with him on that one because they made it seem like Finn and Rey was both equally going to be like greats in this new trilogy. But they really dropped the ball. That was just sad.
But that's why I'm like, they are trying to keep up that image of trying to meet the masterpiece of what it once was instead of trying to come up with something new. And it's like we ask for new, but we also are asking for it to remind us of that masterpiece.
Yeah. I guess it's almost actually no, never mind. Because I was gonna bring up Avatar and the Legend of Korra, and I'm like, oh wait, but that's new. And I was like, but they also copy a lot of things with that, even though they also try something new at the same time. But that just didn't work for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and my thing is, well, here's my problem with the Legend of Korra, is that it didn't know what it was like. It felt like it was trying to recreate Avatar, but it thought it was trying to do the things that it thought that we wanted, but it wasn't. Like, I remember when it tried to, like, you know how people say, oh, Avatar's mature and stuff, or it shows like it's not afraid to like show mature things just because kids are watching. Yeah, it felt like Legend of Korra tried upping that to 10 just because.
That's the thing I feel like worked with the original Avatar, but didn't work with Korra. Avatar showed it, but it didn't feel like they were trying. Kind of like what you said. They didn't know it was going to be as big or as successful as it was. So it just looked like they were just doing what they really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Now with this, it's like, oh man, you know, our audience with the original Avatar, they grew up, so they might want to see something more mature, and we just got to up the ante a little bit. And now they just try to make it a lot more serious.
Yeah, but I just had a thought. So, because thinking about Avatar and also Star Wars, both of
Mhm.
them were became masterpieces partly because so many things went wrong in the middle of making it. Like with Avatar, the reason why they would have, because like you said, they wanted to tell their story, but certain things they couldn't show because they were on Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon would limit them, and so they had to tweak things or make certain things in that we thought was amazing, but they did because Nickelodeon was like I know one of them is like how they showed certain like deaths and stuff. Like they couldn't show Jet die,
Mhm.
so they had to be very subtle with how they did it. But it ended up making it way more like iconic and way more dramatic, where it's like Toph just saying he's lying and then not showing his body or anything. That made
Yeah.
it way better than actually like seeing his
And you
head
know,
and him die.
with that specific scene, I feel like you know, with restrictions, you got to find ways to make it like hit even though you can't see it. And I feel like with that scene and like specifically, it's like if we can't show it, we're going to make the scene as emotional as possible.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, and with Star Wars, there were certain things that they were limited, they have the limit, the right technology to do. So they were just putting things together and it came out being even better than they thought. And he showed it to all his like it's funny because all the great directors in history, like a lot of them, like Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, stuff like that, they were all George Lucas friends, like close friends.
Hmm.
And so he showed them Star Wars without all the effects and music, and they all told him this movie's really bad. It's awful. And then once he added the music and the special effects and all that and showed, and it became bigger than any of their movies, then it was like, what did we miss?
Well, I mean, I think one simple thing is that movie wasn't counted as cinema. You know, but wait, the one thing you said where something like limitations, it kind of brings up one of the things I have in my notes for you know when we were talking about masterpieces. I remember we were talking about The Last of Us,
Mhm.
and it made me think about one thing that I heard. So you know Neil Druckmann made both Last of Us, right? But when he made Last of Us 2, I think he became the head of Naughty Dog, or he had like a higher status at Naughty Dog. And I remember when he made the original Last of Us, at first the game was going to be so much more darker, where Tess was going to come back and try to kill Joel, and then at the end Ellie would have to try to save Joel, and I
Uh,
think it either ended with Joel dying or Ellie, you know, saving Joel from Tess. But someone higher up in Naughty Dog basically told him, don't do that, that's too dark, we need to like come up with a different ending. And that ending basically led us with the classic that we have now, Last of Us 1. So who knows, kind of like what you said, they gave him a limitation, and with that limitation he made a masterpiece game out of that
yeah,
people really wanted a part 2 of.
and see, that's where I think that, and that's kind of why I think Steven Spielberg had made more masterpieces than like, and was able to be broad. Because I think
Mhm.
when someone finally gets total control, it's harder to do to make a masterpiece because you don't have anybody to limit you or tell you no. Like, think about it. If, like, say, if you are trapped in a room, right?
Mhm.
And and they're like, here, build build me something with just everything in this room. And then someone else is given a whole garage and they're like, or they say, build me a toy car to both of you. And you're in a room and you have to use whatever's in that room. And that person's in like a garage and has all the equipment available to him. He's
Mhm.
going to make a traditional car, like toy car. He's going to make it by the books because he's got everything he needs. He has nothing to stop him from making a by the books car.
Mhm.
You, on the other hand, have to scrounge together whatever you can find to be creative to make the best car you can with this limited amount of stuff you have in that room. That's why I think masterpieces happen. I
You
think
know,
they come out of someone wanting to achieve their dream, but through limitations.
and this is reminding me of our conversation yesterday because we were talking about Drake and how I was saying like kind of like what I was saying where like his earlier albums where most of them were considered classics, it was like what was his hunger? Why doesn't he show that same hunger today? And you were saying maybe he wants to maybe back then he was just trying to solidify his spot because basically now thinking about what you said, it makes sense when you really think about him. He was a teen star from a Canadian teen drama, and he wasn't a gangster. Like he was never supposed to work. Who looks at a regular teen star from Degrassi that's not a gangster and it shouldn't, and then he made songs about you because most rappers at the time, man, fuck these bitches, we don't care about this shit. And he's the one crying because a girl from high school left him because she decided to go with another guy. Like Drake shouldn't have worked, but then he still solidified his spot as the top rapper. And now that he is on top and he can do whatever he wants, his music is mediocre by the books.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because just as I said that, I was thinking, like, if you look at many rappers or people in music in general, like Kanye, where I said, I was late to listen to Through the Wire because I didn't really listen to rap like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I listened to that song for a week, like 3 weeks straight, over and over, just because you could feel how magical it was, just because. And then I researched the story behind it, like how he was just going around showing any producer he could this song. No one would want it. His mouth was all jawed up, like
Mm-hmm.
was wired up and stuff. So he was limited on what he could say and how he could say it. And he had to just say what words he could use. And then even through in the middle of the song, he's like, "I'm sorry if you can't hear me that well. I'm speaking through half my mouth."
I love the story
Um,
behind that song. It's
he's
crazy
like,
how good that song is, despite his limitation of barely being able to speak.
exactly. But I think that's what makes it more special. Because imagine, like, if you really think about it, and I know this is going to sound kind of messed up, but think about it. If he didn't have that, like, his jaw wired up, do you think that song would have been as big?
Nah, because you also get invested into the story of it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because he's telling his whole story of how he went through it, what he looked like, how his, and then that's what breaks it. Where like I remember seeing the old reaction. Have you seen that? The old reaction of Pharrell gave?
oh yeah, that was on the Genius
Yeah,
documentary.
especially once he like when he heard the part where Kanye was like, "I'm sorry, my mouth's wired up. I'm speaking through and stuff," and he realized that's why it was named Through the Wire. It
Mhm.
blew his mind. That would have not happened if he was like nowadays. If he made a song like that, it wouldn't be the same.
No, why am I thinking about Through the Wire? And now I'm thinking about the first few lines like I just sent the scissor.
But
I
see,
know, I know that's messed up, but like that just sounded so funny when he said it like that. But what were we about to say?
I was saying that's just what like that makes it even more special. Like it's funny, but it's also like it, in a way it makes it good because it's like I guess it's the limitation is like you can see that person starving to try and do it no matter what.
Josh, this goes back to the underdog story because we're basically bringing up a lot of underdog stories at this point.
But that's the thing. I feel like most, like if you look at it, can you name a masterpiece that people didn't doubt? Like when I really think about it, most masterpieces are something that people didn't think could be made or was going to be made.
Hmm. Actually, you know what? I was gonna say Drake's third album, Nothing Was the Same, but I mean, he still wasn't at the tippy top yet. So yeah,
And people probably were like, he can't do it again.
probably yeah.
Because I realized there is that mode where like if you come out with one masterpiece, some people do have that thought that like they can't do it again. And that
Actually,
still drives.
okay, I don't know about no behind the scenes stuff of this, but Kendrick's Damn. That was his, okay, technically fourth album, but that was his third major label album. And after the success of Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly, that people basically knew that Kendrick was going to come out with another good album with Damn.
Mm,
And he didn't disappoint. Now, look, we're only speaking from fans on the outside. Who knows? Maybe people behind the scenes probably told him like this wouldn't
yeah.
work.
I just know I've noticed a lot that like even like something like Lord of the Rings, people didn't think that could be made. So and when we were talking about Get Out, people were like, he's just like a comedian. He's not going to be able to make some super deep horror movie or something.
Yeah.
I just feel like most of the time when a masterpiece happens, it's because people are doubting it or doubting something, and that causes limitations, which causes them to really push even harder. Because it's like, what happens when you're not limited? What happens when people are, instead of expecting you to fail or discounting you and not believing you, they're expecting you to succeed. They're expecting something even better. What happens when then you're trying to meet that? Now it's like they're not. I feel like it makes it harder then to make a masterpiece because it's like at that point they're expecting a masterpiece. Anything less, and it's not.
It's almost like, because another thing I had in my notes was how we were talking about how overhype can sometimes ruin things. Like we were bringing up Marvel with this, but also I do know I personally told you about that A24 movie that I kept seeing on Twitter, and Al was telling me that it was a good film. That movie mid-90s, which if any A24 fans are watching, yeah, you're probably gonna be mad at me, but I saw it and I just thought it was decent. It was all right. Same with Hereditary. People was hyping that up as like one of the greatest horror movies of all time, and that Ari Aster did an amazing job. That shit was trash. That the overhype got to me because like I thought I like the way people was hyping it up. I thought it was about to be like one of my favorite A24 movies. That shit was trash, and whether people want to admit it or not, it's basically just an artistic paranormal activity.
And see, overhype is interesting to me because like
And didn't you say there was like a movie or something you saw where like the overhype kind of affected your view on it?
well, I know Joker. There was so much hype around that I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And though that does happen sometimes where it's like there'd be so much hype for a movie and then I don't want to see it. And sometimes I feel like the hype is warranted and then sometimes it's not. But I
Yeah.
feel like
And
that can also destroy movies.
I just want to make it clear for the audience. Me and Josh are the type of people where if we see something is overhyped, for the most part, we really try to stay away from it.
Oh, I didn't watch Civil War and Guardians of the Galaxy for so long just because of the hype on it.
Mhm.
Then when I finally watched, I still didn't like Civil War as much. But when I finally watched Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. even
Yeah,
though
the hype was not warranted for me. I think y'all saw how disappointed y'all saw my whole like transition throughout the movie. Like when I first turned it on, oh man, I can't wait to see it because this is the one everybody says is really good. But then by the end, y'all just basically saw me. It was okay. Like it wasn't as funny or interesting as people said, but it's okay. Shit, we only have 10 more minutes in this
oh my
session.
gosh. Well, I think because I think that's the interesting thing. Like when you really break down like a masterpiece or something. Because I know, just bring up video games. I know GTA 5. That's how it was for it. I
Mhm.
remember when it was coming out, people didn't think it would be as good as GTA 4 because people thought GTA 4 was a classic, and they're like, "There's no way they can make GTA 5 as good."
Mhm.
And that came out, and I remember it was such a surprise because I know that got so. That's one of those games I didn't get to because of how hype it was, like how much hype was
Which
behind it.
looking back, I think we were because I mean, I didn't doubt whether GTA 5 was going to be good. Like everything I saw up to that point, I knew I was going to enjoy it. But I feel like it's almost like all the new things they were throwing at us in GTA 5, at least looking back on it, it kind of made us blind a little bit because once we had GTA 5 for a while and like the hype died down and we could really look at the game objectively compared to GTA 4, me and a bunch of other people kind of believe that GTA 4 is ultimately the better game, which is crazy to think about because GTA 5 is supposed to be the better game. They're giving us so much more than GTA 4 had. They're giving us the bigger world, they're giving us multiple characters.
But see, then that goes back to what we were just talking about with limitations. When you're limited to, like, GTA 4 doesn't have had as much advanced technology behind it, so they had to make sure the story was down packed really good and
Mhm.
the gameplay was really interesting. Like, me and my brother always argue about this. Like, we feel like video games have declined the quality because games are more focused on the graphics than they are the actual like gameplay and
Not
how a
only
game
that, but
works.
companies gotten lazy where like, oh, there's something wrong with the game and we could just update that in a patch like 2 months later. Like, let's just put it out.
Because how do you feel about that, like with graphics and stuff? Because me and my brother, we always say like we really wouldn't care about like something having super advanced graphics or like a cutscene, like because I know a lot of games nowadays have like where they don't do cutscenes anymore. They try and do it where you're playing the game and you go right into the scene. Like there's not like
Mhm.
a cutscene.
Yeah.
And so, but that takes away from the actual like gameplay or having the game actually be good.
See now, I'll I'll worry about graphics. It depends on the type of game that you're playing because I seen this in a movie. I mean, I seen this in a video before where they said video games have kind of become more movies than actual video games. Like if you're focused mostly on the story, like an Until Dawn or Last of Us, then I'll care about graphics. Shoot, I somewhat wouldn't even care too much on graphics about a GTA because really their stories are never really that deep besides GTA 4. Most of their stories really aren't that deep, and it's more about all the crazy things you can do when you're in the world. So it's like certain games I'll care about it, but most games I really won't because games are meant to be entertainment more than anything else.
Yeah,
Which is crazy to think because I do agree with that one person said games aren't even games no more. They're really just movies that you're just controlling, which in certain cases, yeah, that's good. But it's like, I want to have the fun that I used to have with video games where there's a story, but it doesn't take away from the fun of it.
yeah, and that's why it's like because I know you haven't really played like the Halos and stuff, but me and my brother we play like Halo 2 because they
Mm.
remastered that, and that one has cutscenes, and those cutscenes look like movie scenes and stuff. But because they remastered that and the cutscenes by itself, the gameplay is still the classic old Halo 2 gameplay. And it's really good.
Mhm.
And that's why it's like, man, if games would just first focus on getting the gameplay to be really fun, making sure the game has a lot of good content to enjoy, then they focus on the graphics. But I know they get a lot of slack on because I know now a lot of fans are care about, we need this to look like the highest graphic performance, 1080p to like 20k.
Like basically they want hyper realistic games.
Yes, they want to be like, I want to jump in the world and look and watch. I want this to look like a real person. And
That's
it's like,
that's like that Matrix Unreal Engine 5 demo that
yeah,
came out on PS5. Like that, I mean, it looks fun, but it's also like, graphics are somewhat important to certain games, but it's just like you guys are putting that more ahead than the rest of the quality of the game. Like, of course, nobody wants the graphics to be bad, no matter what type of game it is. But it's like graphics isn't everything because you could have the best
yeah,
looking game and have shitty gameplay and a horrible story.
yeah, because I know a lot of games nowadays have
Wasn't
failed
wasn't
because
that
that.
the case with Cyberpunk? Like, didn't it look graphically good, but everything else, like they didn't put that much work into it?
Or they tried, it's just they overpromised what it would be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they first did make it, they were like, it's going to look amazing. It's going to have, you can go anywhere, you can do anything in it. You can get you can have jobs, you can romance anybody off the street, any character. They were like over promising so much that then when the game came out, people thought, man, this is going to be the best game in the world. And then it wasn't. It had all these bugs. It looked nice, but it didn't play good.
I mean, you ain't that good, but you look not. It's almost like finding a girl that looks bad as hell, but her personality is horrible. It's like you look nice and all, I mean, but you ain't shit.
Yeah,
That's basically what this game is. It's a bad bitch with no personality. Like,
yeah,
you look nice, but you ain't really got much to offer. What do you bring to the table?
yeah. That's why it's like, I don't know. I just wish that like, I think it's like the whole process is just really interesting because like people, what like someone who's a creator,
Mm-hmm.
there's such a balance of like everything you gotta focus on to make, like, I'll admit, to create something is so hard because like we said, in the end it's to make a masterpiece, but you also want to keep a career. So it's like, do you ride the masterpiece so you can keep making a lot of money, or do you try and make something else you're passionate about and not make that much money?
Now, what was the last thing you were saying?
um what was I saying?
Hmm.
uh
Oh wait, now I remember. You were saying something like finding that balance of doing what you
oh
want, but
yeah,
then yeah.
because my whole thing is, I think we don't give enough credit because it's really hard to create something because you gotta like, because it's like either you get a masterpiece by everything going, by things going wrong, but then somehow ending up just becoming the right thing
Hmm.
that everybody loves, or is, and then you have to try and meet that same success again, or it goes back to, you tried and it just didn't happen right, and it's like, then it's like, darn.
Because I remember when you first said it, I was actually about to bring up Adam Sandler because you were bringing up like because you said like how like how do you reach that point of the masterpiece, or do you just keep riding the coattails of that or something like that you said?
Hmm.
Because I was thinking about how Adam Sandler, kind of like what we said yesterday, he the way his career went, he basically showed us all his talent. He did basically make like a lot of great movies, and nowadays it's almost like he's chilling. It's almost like he's just chilling, to where the intention isn't to make a masterpiece anymore, because it's almost like I made them, so why do I even care about
Yeah,
making more?
because honestly, that is like I know a lot of us won't understand and would be because I know a lot of people sometimes be dogging on Adam Sandler because they're like, oh, now he's just making whatever. What happened to stuff like Happy Gilmore and stuff. But when you think about it from his side, you did like you made the things that made you a lot of money. You're
Mhm.
good. Now it's like now I just want to make the things I love to make.
And
Like I
see,
want to tell my
because
stories.
because I want to bring up 2 points that we brought up yesterday. So I know some people may be listening to this and then also say, because me and Josh talked about this yesterday, how Adam Sandler worked hard and now he's kind of just, just chilling. He'll come back and do like a uncut gems or a hustle whenever he feels like, but he'll mostly go back to just chilling because he already solidified his spot. And I remember yesterday you asked me, then why don't I give that same excuse to Drake? And I feel like the thing is, Drake brags and talks like he's the head person in charge. Like he wants to be on top. He's always dissing people and saying, I'm the top rapper in this. And he's always bragging whenever he talks, but he's not putting out the quality. Adam
Yeah, but
Sandler, I was just going to say, Adam Sandler, he doesn't brag. So I feel like I can give him more of a pass because he's not trying to prove anything at this point.
my thing is when you've made enough masterpieces and stuff, can you even argue about like you say he's not putting out quality, but wouldn't it still be blasphemous to say Drake is not a top
Top what?
like in rap or in music or something? Like that would still be blasphemous, wouldn't it?
I mean, objectively speaking, yeah, that would be blasphemous because I mean, either way, he did put out that work. And there was something there was a rebuttal I was going to say to that. Damn. Actually, another reason I give Adam Sandler more of a pass than Drake, because Adam Sandler has come out the woodworks and literally prove that he can still make that classic movie. With Drake, it's kind of like what I said yesterday. I said that he comes out of nowhere and shows like in verses that he can still rap. But my thing is, I think more of my problem with Drake, maybe it's not questioning whether he can still rap as good as he can, but it's that he hasn't made that full body of work that he used to. You get what I'm saying? Like he'll come out of the woodworks and make a song where he's rapping his ass off. Then why don't you make a full body of work like that? Why
Hmm.
don't you make a whole album like that
But
then?
then it goes back to the thing of like he has nothing left to prove.
But see, I have an issue with it because he's talking like he got something to prove. I'm better than this rapper. Oh, you thought this rapper was taking over? I'm better than him.
Yeah, but then you gotta think the other thing is like what does isn't that a perk of a masterpiece? Like say George Lucas for a second. George Lucas, even though he hasn't made a movie in like over 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
he if a new movie maker was coming at him, he could just be like, I'm a better movie maker than you. Just because he's made Star Wars.
But see, this might be hypocritical to me, or this might be hypocritical of me, but I feel like you can only use that masterpiece up to a certain point. Because, like, hold on, let me finish. Let
Okay.
me say, let's say that you have a 20 movie career, 20 movie, 20 album, whatever career. Your first five are classics, and then the rest of the 15 are straight trash or just okay. And it's like when I guess when you can talk about your overall legacy, oh, I made 5 classics. But then when you're arguing with someone, it's almost like, okay, you made those 5 classics at the beginning of your career, but what can you do now?
Okay,
I
I
think
have a
that's I
perfect
think that's
example.
I think that's why I show more respect to Adam Sandler because he shows I can still do this even though I don't do it regularly no more. Drake, when are you going to make that classic album again?
Okay, I have an example then. We'll put what you just said to the test.
Okay.
Okay, give me a modern day rapper right
Like what is there any criteria you're looking for?
now. Not anybody who's like none of the top people, like special people who've like had classic after classic. Just a normal like rapper of today.
Um I guess top of my head is Logic.
Okay, so what if Logic came at Snoop
Actually,
Dogg?
actually, no. You know what?
Okay,
Let me not say Logic because two people, because not two people. His first 2 albums are considered classics, and he has classics mixtapes.
okay, someone who's
Um.
rapping today still.
Okay. Lil Baby. I'll just say Lil Baby.
Okay, Lil Baby, or is it Dub Baby?
No, Lil Baby. They're Duh Baby and Lil Baby are 2 different rappers.
Okay, say Lil Baby. He came at Snoop Dogg,
Yeah.
and Snoop Dogg said, "I'm better than you." It don't matter what Snoop Dogg's put out recently. We all gonna be like, "Yeah, Snoop Dogg's better than you."
But I feel like majority of people are going to say that just because he's a legend. But if you really
Exactly.
But see that, but that's not going against how I personally feel because it's like nowadays I do consider Lil Baby a better rapper than Snoop Dogg just because Snoop hasn't been as good as he was in the '90s for a long time.
Yeah, but what about Snoop Dogg had all these things like at his prime? He was better than Lil Baby. Does that not make him better just because he's not
I
his
mean
prime now?
that makes your overall legacy better, but if we're talking like skill versus skill, then I have to
Or
say who
like
really is better.
when was Eminem versus Machine Gun Kelly?
That was a horrible example, Jones.
I know, but I'm just saying. Say if Eminem didn't put out any music, he's still better than him because of his like
Well,
what he did in the past.
that's because Eminem actually still has skill and has shown to have gotten slightly better too.
Yeah, I'm just saying, even with like even the baby, if he
Duh,
came at
baby.
Snoop, if he came at Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg could say, "Yeah, I'm better than you," and people just gonna be like, "Yeah, Snoop Dogg is because of his past."
Well, I'll give you that. Most people will use your legacy as an excuse, but for people like me, at least depending on the argument that you're having, like if you say, like, say a newer rapper that does rap better, but they didn't have a classic album, but their skill is better than the older rapper. And the older rapper's like, okay, I got more classics than you. I make better bodies of work than you. Then I can give them that because making an overall body of work as a music artist doesn't just count on your skill. Was the production good? Did you
Yeah,
make overall catchy songs? Then I can, you know, then I can give it to people with that one. But if you're just like if you're just talking about skill, like who's better, I would say a lot of people are better than Snoop Dogg.
but back to the Drake thing,
Mm-hmm.
you're asking for more body of work, but he's bragging like you just said. He's bragging that he's better skill wise, not body of work wise, and he shows on single songs the skill wise. But you want a whole body of work.
Yeah.
But you just said skill wise and body work is different.
But I also said it depends on the type of argument we have in.
Yeah, but if he's arguing that he's better and then he got on one song and showed that he can be better, and you're still like, no, you're bragging, you should bring out a whole body of work.
Well, here's the other thing with Drake. when it comes to like, okay, when you say skill wise, then I guess, okay, taking out the body of work, showing that he can rap better than other rappers, then that's kind of when I want to see a rap battle. But that's most likely not going to happen.
Yeah,
Because
but does Drake even do rap battles?
oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
Well, it depends. See, a lot of people don't say this about Drake. Some people will say, "Oh, he'll battle anybody because of what he's done so far in his career." But I think Drake has his limits. He has his limits because we never seen that battle between him and Kendrick actually pop off. I heard rumors that it was gonna pop off, but apparently it would have been like if it popped off, it would have gotten past music. And
oh,
then he had a battle with Pusha T, the legendary story of Adidon. Remember, I told you how people actually this is an unpopular opinion. People will say that the story of Adidon wasn't a good diss because they were saying it was more gossip than actually dissing Drake because he revealed that Drake had a secret son or whatever. To me,
then that's
ain't that the point of dissing somebody, disrespecting them, exposing things they didn't want you to know about them, tainting their image? That's kind of what I expect. And Drake never came back to that. He
didn't
he
he?
tried he tried to say like, oh, I'm more popular than you, but someone like Pusha T don't care about popularity. He cares about the skill.
Didn't he actually have a secret son though?
I think that was a lie.
Oh,
Well, okay, we'll never really know. But like I personally feel like it's a lie. And also think about it like this. I said he had a battle with Pusha. Some people were saying that he didn't put out that song because it was going more at Kanye. So it's like your response to Pusha exposing you having a kid, you're gonna come at Kanye? I don't know. Okay. I can see somewhat the hypocrisy I said about Drake with, showing his skill and making bodies of work. I guess it's still just a personal thing with me that it's like I see that I see that you have the skill, but I just don't like that you're just coasting and you're not trying to prove to us that you can still do it.
well, you see that he has this like. Are you thinking back to his masterpieces that you want another one?
I wanted to the same quality, not
Uh,
exact. I don't want another Take Care because a lot of fans be asking Drake for a Take Care too. I don't want to Drake. I don't want to Take Care too. I don't want nothing with the same because personally, the reason I don't be asking for sequels to albums like that is they're never going to be that same person they were in that moment. Kind of like what I told
hence,
you. Kind of like what
hence
I
why it's called "Nothing Was the Same."
exactly. Nothing's gonna be the same after this. And it's almost like what I told you with Kanye, how he made his best albums when he was having the worst times of his life. Like Donda, Kim divorced him. Him and Drake was having this battle where people seemed to somewhat be more on Drake's side slightly. He was getting clowned on the internet for like all the things he was doing. Jesus is King was just seen as a decent album opposed to the classic people thought it was going to be. He had something to prove and he was never going to be that low in his life again. So he's like, you know what? Let me make the best body of work I can make right now to get that off of people's minds.
That's kind of sad though. I feel kind of bad for him.
What?
It's like he's got to be in his saddest state to make music everybody loves.
And that actually that's a big topic with music fans or whatever. Because some people want the old weekend back. And you know how I said like, some people can't recreate that because they're not the same person that they used to be.
Hmm.
Weekend used to be a drug addict. He used to be homeless and stuff like that. He's not ever going to be homeless or a drug addict again. I mean, he could become a drug addict again, but he'll be a famous drug addict. So he's never going to be in that same mind state as when he made Trilogy and all those other classics.
Well, see, that's what interests me about music. It's like people want, like, I guess it's the funny biopic thing. It's like people want the best music, like that same type of, like when people were making their best music, they want that again. But when you think about it, a lot of people make it when they're in their darkest times, like they in prison or something, or they or they dealing with drugs or something like that. And then when people get in that like, I'm gonna make my life better type of thing mode, they're like, I don't know if I like this music as well.
Yeah.
It is like, darn, do we really need someone be in pain and sadness to
And
like their music?
and I don't know if this what we're saying correlates to movies as well, but I feel like someone who basically what we're saying, like they were in a time of their lives where they had something to prove or they had to do something, and they're still maintaining it to this day. And especially after you told me watch Batman, I believe that's Robert Pattinson, because I remember after the Twilight movies, everybody didn't think he was really that good of an actor. He wasn't really considered, like, basically, like I said, he wasn't really considered that good of an actor. So then he started doing more indie movies, he started doing more serious films, and now look at him in films like Tenet and The Batman and The Lighthouse, where he's proved that he's such a good actor. But the thing is, I'm pretty sure he's not in that same space that he used to be, but at least he's still keeping up a similar amount of quality to it.
Yeah, because I think well with him, I feel like that's one of those things. Like there are rare occasions, and I think he's one of those rare things where he's always going to have to try and prove he's not Twilight Boy, because it's like,
You don't think he's gotten past that point yet?
no, because even when the Batman was coming out, people were still like, Robert Pattinson from Twilight.
What more did this dude need to do? No, because I'm not even a big Robert Pattinson fan. Wait, hold on. Let me look him up real quick, because
He did
I
The
didn't even.
Lighthouse. He did Tenet. He's done the
I
Batman. I feel like people will see him
I need
as
to read his
Twilight Boy.
I need to read his credentials, because I'm still finding it hard as hell that he's not past this point yet. All right, okay. Past the Twilight movies. Oh, he was also on Good Time. That was another great movie. The Lighthouse, Tenet, The Batman. Okay, I'm seeing these other movies. Okay. He hasn't had that much crazy, like, big roles, or not big roles, but like he hasn't had that much popular movies since um Twilight. But I feel like those four iconic roles that I really just read out, like Good Time, Lighthouse, Batman, Tenet, you would think big movies like those where he showed off his range in acting, you would think that would cover up his Twilight past, but
I don't know. Twilight was a big movie series.
so you don't think do you think he'll ever get over that?
Well, if he does a couple more Batmans, he probably will. I just feel like that's going to keep him hungry for a lot longer than someone who hasn't had that over their heads. Because
So
that's like,
dang.
oh, that's because Twilight, love it or hate it, it is kind of a masterpiece.
Hey, this is hate it or love it.
Oh, hate it or love it, it is kind of a masterpiece. Like it's never going to be forgotten in history.
I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, but it's a period in time. I'll give it that.
I'm just saying those stars are never going. They're going to be referred to as Edward Bella. Like,
I would say that Robert Pattinson is in the best position though, because Kristen Stewart has had straight duds. Straight duds. She went straight copper after every movie. No hits, all misses. and Taylor Lautner, is he even an actor anymore?
He was in that one Adam Sandler movie that one time.
He wouldn't even show up in Shark Boy and Lava Girl too. Like, come on, man.
Well, he don't look as good as he used to. I feel like he's kind of like got that middle age body.
He gained weight.
He looks like a regular adult now.
Ah, damn. Damn. At least Kristen Stewart's still in the industry. This dude just went off the face of the earth.
Oh my God.
He was on those movies. He lost the fight to Adam Sandler, and oh wait, no, he didn't lose the fight. He lost the fight to a little girl and grown-ups too. He lost Taylor Swift, and this guy just decided, fuck it, I'm out of the industry now. Which how
Who
did you
you?
flop? Huh?
Oh, I was gonna say, you know, one person who he doesn't care about masterpieces. He's still going.
Who?
Tom Cruise.
Because that dude just does anything now.
Yeah.
He just
Well,
literally does anything from what I've
he's
seen.
from what I've seen, he's someone who he wears that as like a badge of honor, that like people expect a certain amount of quality and him to do real stunts and all that. So he's going to keep adhering to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why so far I think he's kept up that quality. Though for a little bit he went out of season, but then he came back.
Was that when he was jumping on couches and shit?
I don't know. I think so.
Jumping
It's like
on couches on Oprah.
Yeah, and when he was talking, like got very famous for Scientology, and people were joking on him and stuff, he started falling out of like the good graces. But
Oh yeah. Speaking of churches like Scientology and whatever, I was re-listening to our episode and I forgot I wanted you to talk about Sweet Daddy Bailey.
Oh my gosh.
You feel like sharing that story real quick before we end?
Well, I won't give no names.
But you'll say Sweet Daddy Bailey, right?
Oh my gosh. Maybe not, just because.
Well, I already said it, so you might as well.
Let's just say.
And what's the odds that church is gonna watch my video?
Who knows? They'll watch.
Okay. The names have been changed to protect the identity of the deceased.
So I used to be part of this organization.
Cult.
Organization.
Cult.
And they were very about like religion, but it wasn't really about like God and stuff like that. Because a lot of it was focused on like tithes and stuff like, and money and things like that. And the main person was the bishop. So there's a bunch of these organizations all along the East Coast, and this bishop gets paid by all of them. Or this, oh, well, you already know what type of organization this is, but if you say bishop, but he gets paid.
Is that who I think it is?
Yeah, yes. And this organization kind of sees him as a more holy deity or figure than usual. And they will refer to him as like Sweet Daddy or stuff like that, in that he's kind of like a prophet or something like that. It becomes very rivals.
So they treated him like the next coming of Jesus.
Yes.
Oh my.
So it's like I had to get out of it.
It's possible, y'all. You can escape cults. Josh is an example. I don't know. Maybe I should ask Michael if he escaped his cult yet. But you know. All right, y'all. That's the end of this episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. Josh, do you have anything you want to say? Anybody you want to plug?
Be safe out there. Peace.
Well, with all that being said, Tevin Jameer and Joshua Jones signing out.